Hello and welcome to another video from me, Rough Swordsman Wargamer. It's an open the box and it's an unboxing of Vuca Simulations' brand new game. Task Force, Carrier Battles in the Pacific, designed by, and excuse my pronunciation, Ginichiro Suzuki. And as I said, published by Vuca Simulations. And once again I must thank Patrick and Vuca Simulations for sending me this early production copy. Thank you very much. And this, I believe, is an updated, modernised version of Mr. Suzuki's game from 1982. So, what's all this about? Task Force, Carrier Battles in the Pacific, is a game about the most important battles from the Pacific theatres in World War II. The game is designed to be accessible and enjoyable for all, ranging from players with no experience of war games or simulation games to those with intermediate or above proficiency in the genre. There are 10 scenarios to play, focusing on Japanese naval engagements in World War II. These scenarios progressively increase in difficulty. The first 4 are tutorial scenarios designed for complete beginners and for players who prefer to learn the game step by step while playing, with the first 3 played solitaire and the 4th, a fictional carrier v carrier, played by 2 players. The purpose of these first scenarios is simply to teach new players the essential rules appearing throughout all of Task Force. The other scenarios add gradually more rules and vary in difficulty, whereas the final few will be best enjoyed by intermediate players. That said, even the final scenario will be accessible to a beginner who has progressed through the preceding ones in turn. Conversely, the earlier scenarios may be of little interest to intermediate players due to their low difficulty. Well, I think that's welcomed honesty about the difficulty of the scenarios in the game, but what have we got in the box? We've got 1 rulebook, 1 scenario book, 4 map sheets, 180 30 by 15 mil counters, 408 square 15 mil counters, 2 player aid charts, 2 fleet formation charts, 1 turn track, 1 airbase chart, 6 setup displays and 2 6-sided dice. Yes, Vuca Simulations are from Germany, hence the metric measurements. Game features: unit scale, single ships; time scale, 1 turn, about 90 minutes for the day turns or 3 hours for the night turns. Map scale, 1 hex is about 75 kilometers, which is 40 nautical miles. Playing time, 30 to 5 hours. Players, solitaire play or 2 players. So here we have additional information about people involved in the game. Down here we have the game meter, and it looks like the complexity is 5 out of 10. And the solitaire suitability 7 out of 10. And it will be interesting to see if it's only those first few tutorial scenarios that are suitable for solitaire play, or we can play everything solitaire. We'll soon find out. Right, let's get the shrink wrap off. The shrink wrap is off, so let's open the box. And the first thing we see are the rules and the scenario book, so let's have a look at those. Here's the rule book. Love the cover art, by the way, very contemporary. But the rule book, full colour, glossy pages, and only 19 of them. So let's have a look. Evidently this is the first time this game has been printed in another language. It was only printed in Japanese when it came out, so there's something. We've got the contents, credits, introduction, and the game equipment explanation. And I've just noticed here, Japanese War Game Classics #1. So maybe there's going to be a series of them. Suzuki was quite a prolific game designer, I think, so watch this space. The other thing that's generated a lot of interest when I put up on Facebook that I received the game, is it solitaire friendly? Well, we'll see if we can partially answer that question, but anyway. Game equipment, different units, game markers and chits. Recon. Alright. Aircraft and the dice, standard procedures. So it's initiative. Player goes first, stacking limits, zones of control. Handling of combat hits. Handling of fleet markers. Dummies. Red flag there. So it looks like there's dummies in this, which may be a problem for solo play. Might be a way around it by sort of randomly placing those, so you don't know where any of the dummy markers are. I think it's used for when we do searching, but we'll see. Splitting and merging task forces and destroyers. Setup of a scenario. What have we got here? Fog of War. But I think that's the fog of war that in a lot of games you're not allowed to inspect the other players' units. So that's easy enough to do when you're playing solo. If you're anything like me, after 5 minutes you forget what the other player's got. Right, so that's fog of war, victory conditions. Then the sequence of play. So we've got the naval movement phase, naval combat phase, aircraft operations phase, reconnaissance phase, and administrative phase. And then it goes into those phases in more detail. Night battles, bombarding a land base, surprise attacks, the aircraft operations phase, Looks quite good though. Reconnaissance phase and administrative phase. Special units, aircraft and ships. There we are. Them's the rules. Next we have the scenario book, and this is a little bit thicker at 27 pages. Now this game you learn by playing these scenarios. And I've just noticed here, instead of reading the whole rulebook, you can opt to start learning the game with the help of the tutorial scenarios. Each scenario will tell you which rules from this rulebook are needed in order to play them, and also the exclusive rules for that scenario not common to other scenarios. So designers like Jerry White use this method, but this may be a sort of throwback to the days in the 80s where a lot of games taught you a few rules and then a scenario, and you built up your knowledge of the game that way. But for whatever reason, I do like learning games that way. So a little bit about the orders of battle and setup and nomenclature there. Scenario 1, this is where the solitaire rating comes in, I think. Is it 3 or 4 of the scenarios are solitaire, but they are tutorials. So this one is Attack on Pearl Harbor. 1 player. Everything you need to know about it here. And continuing here. Scenario 2, Sinking of the Prince of Wales and Repulse. December the 10th, 1941. Another 1-player tutorial scenario. Number 3, Battle of the Java Sea. Here we go. Scenario 4, still a tutorial, but 2-player. So this scenario will see if solo play is a problem. And I'm hoping to go through these tutorials on the channel. So we'll soon find out. Number 5 is Battle of the Coral Sea. beginner scenario for 2 players. Another beginner scenario, Battle of Midway. And we're getting into the intermediate level of scenario. Not sure if that's more rules or more advanced rules just for scenarios. Scenario 8, Combined Fleet versus Pacific Fleet, a fictional scenario. Another fictional scenario, Indian Ocean Raid, intermediate, 2 player. And scenario 10, the battles of Santa Cruz Islands and the Second Naval Battle of Guadalcanal, October, November 42, advanced scenario for 2 players. Oh, there's some more here. Back to intermediate, scenario 11, Solomon Islands, custom scenario, second half of 1941. Not sure what that means. This scenario is an example of how to do your own custom scenarios. Yes, I believe you can design your own scenarios. And here it is, creating new scenarios. So it looks like you can either use extra counters that are supplied. Is it a point system? Well, we'll find out. Some optional rules. Blind games, or games with 2 boards. I think, though, you have to have 2 copies. That's quite good, restricted. Crossed out there. Is that on every page? Yeah. So hopefully it's not too bad to solo. So yes, this double blind system with a referee, but 2 boards, so 2 copies of the game. Strategy and tactics for some of the scenarios. And that's it. Scenario book. Next, there are 6 counter sheets. Here's the first one. And you've got the ship's names in English and in Japanese, which gives a nice sort of narrative flavour. Obviously search counters and fleet markers there. Here's the other side. This looks like the damaged side. Here's the other side of those search counters and those fleet markers. Here's the second one, more ships and fleet markers, sighted markers for both sides. Oh, can't land. I think that's if your carrier is damaged. Can't land your aircraft back. Here's the other side, and yeah, look, here's the dummy markers, which we've got to sort out a method so we can play solo. And of course, if your carrier's damaged, you can't launch your aircraft. Here's the third sheet, some more ships and admin stuff, critical damage. A lot of this goes on to the status boards, which we'll show you in a minute. Nice quality counters. Here's the next one. We've got some aircraft on this. And here's the back. Number 5. And if you have any Vuca simulation games, you know the quality of the counters. They punch out easy. Here's the last sheet. More aircraft and ships. And the other side. This, believe it or not, is the turn marker track. Look at that. Couple of nice D6s. Next out the box is a map for the attack on Pearl Harbor scenario, and this paper is similar to the paper used in their previous game, 1914 Nach Paris. Next is a small double-sided mounted board, this side for the Battle of the Java Sea, and on the other side the sinking of Prince of Wales and Repulse. Next are 6 setup boards, and I mean boards because these are really thick card. And here are the setups for the first 3 scenarios. And on the other side is the United States Navy setups for scenario 4 and 5. United States Navy setups for scenario 6 and 7. And scenario 8 on the other side. Here's one for the Royal Navy. Scenario 9, Indian Ocean Raid. And on the other side, Scenario 10. This one shows the Imperial Japanese Navy setup for Scenario 6 and 7. And on the other side, Scenario 8. Imperial Japanese Navy setup for Scenario 9, Indian Ocean Raid. And Scenario 10 on the other side. Scenario 4, Carrier versus Carrier, Imperial Japanese Navy. And Scenario number 5, Battle of the Coral Sea. And on the other side, we've got some alternate odds. Not sure what that is. Might be something to do with your custom scenarios, but there are some named scenarios here, so to be investigated. Next, 2 double-sided player aids on that thick card. Let's have a look at one of those. These look like the combat results tables, recon chit results, and on the other side some useful rule reminders and a comparison of day and night actions by the looks of it, and some unit references down the bottom. Again on the same stock, a land-based sheet. Not sure if that's to raid land targets. We'll soon find out. And then a mounted United States Navy fleet sheet. And this, I presume, is where you put all your admin counters and aircraft and other bits and bobs. But look at that, I can't quite fit it in. All the way up to there. And of course, one for the Imperial Japanese Navy. Next, a mounted map for the Battle of the Eastern Solomons. Nice size. It's double-sided, so on the other side we have the Battle of Midway. And lastly, a mounted map for use with the fictional Combined Fleet versus Pacific Fleet. Again, nice size. And on the other side, Battle of the Coral Sea. Look at that one. And that's it. The box is empty. So this has been an Open the Box, an unboxing of Vuca Simulations' brand new game, Task Force, Carrier Battles in the Pacific, designed by Ginichiro Suzuki. And at the time of videoing this unboxing, it is still on pre-order, and I'll leave a link in the description for that so you can go and check it out. And once again, thank you so much, Patrick and Vuca Simulations, for sending me this advanced review copy. Looks a good game, and I dare say as time goes on, I'll be able to tell you more about the solo suitability. But for some people, that matters not. Well, I hope you enjoyed that and you found it interesting. If you did, and you're one of the 40% of people who watch the videos but haven't subscribed, it would be wonderful if you would consider actually doing that. Really does help. Pushing the like button of the video, the thumbs up, helps tremendously. And if you want to be informed of other content the channel uploads, then push that bell. As always, I encourage you to leave a comment. Don't know too much about how the game works at the moment, its mechanics and so on. But as I say, this appears to be an updated, modernised version of Mr. Suzuki's 1982 game. And if you are familiar with that one, even though it was only printed in Japanese, let me know. I love to read them. Thanks as always to my subscribers. Thank you very much. And just before I go, as always, a quick plug. If you wish to support the channel a little bit further, well, you could buy the channel a coffee, and a link will be in the description for that. Or you can push the super thanks button underneath the video. Those little donations all help the channel to keep ticking along, so thank you. So, until next time, as always, you take care and goodbye.